Our country is home to some of the most beautiful God-given landscapes in the world. We're blessed with natural treasures, from the Grand Tetons to the Grand Canyon, from lush forests and vast deserts to lakes and rivers teeming with wildlife. And it's our responsibility to protect these treasures for future generations, just as previous generations protected them for us.
In this historic year of the centennial of the National Park Service, we celebrate our national parks and honor the caretakers of some of the most iconic natural treasures in the world. By preserving parks today and creating park stewards for tomorrow, National Park Trust is protecting these landscapes and historical and cultural sites for this generation and future generations.
Since 1983, NPT has completed more than 100 land acquisition and preservation projects in 33 states, Washington, D.C., and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Our projects range from the acquisition of 11,000 acres for the establishment of the Tallgrass Prairie National Preserve in Kansas, to 30 acres at Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore on the shores of Lake Michigan.
From the preservation of habitat for the endangered desert tortoise at Mojave National Preserve in California, to historic Fort Stevens in Rock Creek Park in Washington, D.C., and from our work to protect the viewshed of the C&O Canal National Historic Site in Maryland, to the birthplace of Martin Luther King in Georgia.
In honor of the centennial of the National Park Service, NPT is now focusing on 100 high-priority land acquisition projects located inside the boundaries of our national parks.
From California to Colorado, to Maine to Alaska, these parcels will benefit more than 40 national park units in all 7 geographic regions. Projects that have little chance of receiving federal funding for their purchase.
But NPT is not just about acquiring land. Stewardship is essential to preserving our parks now and for the next 100 years. If the next generation doesn't love the out-of-doors and value our parks, then these national treasures are at risk. Yet, in the 21st century, children spend less and less time in nature.
National Park Trust's Buddy Bison School program is reversing this trend by providing access to our parks for thousands of students each year. Selected by the National Park Service as a Centennial Challenge project, the Buddy Bison program has expanded this year to include schools in Houston, Chicago, St. Louis, Washington, D.C., San Francisco, and Atlanta, totaling 50 Title I schools this year.
Since 2009, more than 30,000 students from underserved communities have traveled to their local, state, and national parks, public lands, and waters, where they have used parks as outdoor classrooms to enhance their science and history curricula, learned about park stewardship, and about the benefits of outdoor recreation.
And in honor of the centennial, we have committed to expanding our Buddy Bison program to 100 schools around the country.
Furthermore, since 2011, Kids to Parks Day, a nationwide day of play, has engaged an additional 2 million kids and their families across the country with their local parks and public lands.
On May 21st, NPT celebrated the 6th annual Kids to Parks Day with more than 700,000 participants at 1,137 parks in every state and Washington, D.C.
More than 400 cities and towns representing all 50 states and the District of Columbia and 23 governors proclaimed the day, and a Senate resolution was passed.
National Park Service Centennial Challenge funds also provided matched resources for our Kids to Parks Day school contest, benefiting 4,400 students in grade pre-K through 12th grade. And all because kids need parks, and parks need kids.
Franklin Delano Roosevelt stated, "There is nothing so American as our national parks. The scenery and the wildlife are native. The fundamental idea behind the parks is native. It is, in brief, that the country belongs to the people for the enrichment of the lives of all of us. Join National Park Trust in protecting our parks for this century and the next century in honor of the centennial of the National Park Service."